Today, we're diving into a story that is just an absolutely high-stakes case study in risk, in resilience, and really what it takes to pull a dream back from the very, very brink of total annihilation. Let's get into it.
This quote, it's pretty much the key to understanding this entire story. It's like the operating system running in the background of every single decision we're about to explore. It shows what happens when pure, raw conviction just completely overrides the odds.
So where does a story like this even begin? Well, you might think it's in a fancy boardroom, but nope. It starts in Pretoria, South Africa, with a quiet kid who was way more into encyclopedias and programming manuals than, playgrounds. And this right here, this is the first little clue. At just 12 years old, he actually creates and sells a video game called Blastar. Now, it's a small win, for sure, but it plants this monumental seed, this idea that you can actually build the things that you imagine in your head. It was his first taste of turning code into cash and an idea into a reality. Okay, let's fast forward a couple of decades. After co-founding the company that would eventually become PayPal, Musk walks away with a personal fortune of over $160 million. Now, for 99.9% of people on this planet, that's it. Story's over. You've won the game. But for Musk, this wasn't the prize. It was just the starting capital for the real mission. What he did next? Well, you can't even call it a calculated investment. It was an all-or-nothing bet, not on a single company, but on his vision for the future of humanity itself. And just look at this. The choice couldn't be more clear. The safe path, that's the one pretty much anyone would take, right? The Musk path, though, was, from any traditional financial perspective, completely irrational. I mean, he chose two of the most capital-intensive, high-failure rate industries on Earth, cars and rockets. His friends, his advisors, industry experts, pretty much everyone told him he was committing financial suicide. But he funneled his entire PayPal fortune into these two missions, leaving himself with practically nothing left in the bank. And for a while there, it looked like all those experts were going to be proven right. The year 2008. That was the crucible. That was the moment when both of these impossible dreams were right on the verge of just turning to dust. It starts with the very first launch of SpaceX's Falcon 1 rocket. It clears the launch pad, and then, just moments later, it ends in this fiery explosion over the Pacific. A totally devastating setback. But for a company run by engineers, an explosion is also a ton of data on what went wrong. So they pressed on. So they tried again, but the second launch, it also ended in failure. A propellant issue this time. And with each attempt, the pressure just mounted. The media started to circle, and the cash was just burning faster and faster. They were learning, yeah, but it was costing them millions per lesson. The third launch, this one was carrying actual NASA satellites. It was their most critical one yet. And it, too, exploded. Millions of dollars, years of hard work, and the company's entire reputation all going up in smoke. 3 attempts, 3 catastrophic failures. The dream was officially on life support. And this slide, man, it just paints the whole brutal picture. It wasn't just exploding rockets. Over at Tesla, they were stuck in what Musk himself called production hell, just bleeding cash trying to build their first car, the Roadster. The press was calling him a failure, a fraud. It got so bad that he was reportedly borrowing money from friends just to cover his own living expenses. This was the absolute bottom. So it all comes down to this. After all the failures, all the ridicule, Musk somehow scrapes together the last of the company's money. There was enough for exactly one more attempt. One final launch. If this one failed, SpaceX was finished. And without SpaceX, Tesla was almost certainly going to die too. Everything was riding on this. All right, so here we are, the climax of the entire story. On September 28, 2008, the fourth Falcon 1 rocket is standing on the launch pad. And this wasn't just another flight. For everyone involved, this was about survival. Can you even imagine the tension in mission control? The rocket ignites. It clears the tower. That's a small victory right there. It passes through max Q, the point of maximum stress. And then comes the big one, stage separation, a point of failure in the past. And this time, it's perfect. The second stage ignites, and it just keeps going, pushing all the way to Earth's orbit. Success. After 3 absolutely heartbreaking failures, they had finally done it. That one word, it changed everything. It wasn't just a successful launch, it was proof. It proved that a private company could actually design, build, and launch a rocket into orbit. The tech worked. And the reward for that incredible success? Well, shortly after, NASA, seeing that the technology was real, awarded SpaceX a massive $1.6 billion contract to resupply the International Space Station. That contract didn't just give them money, it gave them legitimacy. It gave them a future. And the momentum from that SpaceX success created this amazing ripple effect. Get this, on Christmas Eve of 2008, just hours before they would have gone bankrupt, a group of investors came through with a last-minute funding round that saved Tesla. In the span of just a few weeks, Musk had pulled both of his companies back from the dead. Okay, so what can we actually take away from this absolutely wild story of risk and recovery? What are the core principles we can pull from this playbook? First, reframe failure as data. See, those 3 exploding rockets weren't just failures. They were incredibly expensive, high-speed lessons that provided the exact data they needed to succeed. Second, ignore the naysayers. As this story shows, if your vision isn't considered at least a little bit crazy, it might not be big enough. And third, commit fully. Musk didn't hedge his bets, he went all in. And that undeniable belief is what ultimately inspires people to take a huge risk right alongside you. In the end, this entire case study really boils down to just one word: resilience. But look at the key phrase here: an unnatural tolerance for risk. That's the secret sauce. It's the willingness to face public failure, to look foolish in the short term, all for a monumental long-term goal. So that leaves us with one final question to think about. I mean, this story is an extreme example, obviously, but the principle is universal. It really forces us to ask ourselves, if we had the resources and we had that same level of conviction, what impossible problem would we be willing to risk it all to solve?